bombshell, not guilty.
We won!
Write it down, world!
Yeah, this is history! This is history!
Good.
41 days of occupation, weeks of testimony.
I feel awesome. People still care about our country. People still care about the Constitution and upholding the Constitution.
A story months in the making.
I'm so happy. We've been marching around these jails now for 10 months saying not guilty, saying each of their names not guilty.
But not without one last twist. Chaos in the courtroom.
After the verdict is read, you have an assault of my co-counsel for making a legal argument, right? It's unexplainable.
From images of armed men in eastern Oregon to a shootout that left Lavoy Finicum dead on a rural highway, FBI agents in hot water, this case has surprised and captivated from the start.
It began as an armed takeover in Harney County in southeastern Oregon. It came to a head just hours ago in downtown Portland.
Ammon Bundy and 6 other defendants not guilty. A shocking ruling followed by a stunning moment in court that left Bundy's own lawyer tackled and tased by federal marshals and facing charges himself.
We won!
But somehow this crowd still feels defeated over what happened after the judge read the verdicts.
It's unreal. How can they do that? This is not justice. This is a mob. It's a mob rule.
Mob rule is how co-defendant Shauna Cox describes what happened to one of Ammon Bundy's attorneys. Marcus Mumford is his name. He argued that Bundy should be allowed to walk, but Judge Anna Brown said no, since Bundy is still facing charges in Nevada. The two got into a heated exchange when close to a dozen U.S. Marshals rushed in. They tackled Mumford, even tased him. At least one computer went flying. Papers went flying. A table was overturned. Cameras aren't allowed in the federal courthouse, but I can tell you it was complete mayhem, although Mumford didn't seem fazed by it one bit. We spoke with him after he was released from custody.
I grew up on a dairy farm, so am I used to some rough treatment? Sure.
Even more stunning is the chaos in court, the verdict itself. Many had considered this a slam dunk case for the prosecution. After all, the takeover of the wildlife refuge had played out on live TV and on the internet. But in the end, the jury said no to conspiracy, to theft, and other charges. Bundy's attorney points to his client's testimony.
They believed him when he said it was not my intent to engage in the kind of illegal conduct that I'm accused of.
Tonight near Cannonball, North Dakota, this is the tense face-off between an army of police and Native American protesters blocking Highway 1806, trying to shut down construction of a controversial oil pipeline on private land. Officers in armored vehicles wearing riot gear are pouring in with air support. Battle lines drawn, now making arrests.
We're trying to avoid the confrontation. They drew the line in the sand today.
After setting fires and blocking the bridge in the path of the pipeline, months of tension have escalated. Some promise a fight to the end.
There's no fear here. We know that we have the moral high ground and that we're doing what's right.
The nearly complete Dakota Access Oil Pipeline will cross 4 states, connecting North Dakota and Illinois with some 1,200 miles of pipe, a $3.8 billion project capable of transporting 570,000 barrels of oil a day.
We're going to take our stand. We're staying here.
The pipeline runs adjacent to the Standing Rock Sioux Reservation, where Native Americans say the project is destroying sacred sites and could pollute the Missouri River, a clean water source for millions.
This is about protecting water, and that's a good thing. It needs to be protected.
With nearly 300 arrests since August, the protest has become a movement, said to be the largest gathering of Native Americans in modern history. Tonight, no comment from the oil company, as celebrities and activists arrive in North Dakota, vowing to fight on while facing arrests and a growing army of police.
The conversation on pipelines, New York officials are under fire for yet another pipeline project, with Spectra Energy's AIM pipeline set to go online next week. Community members are demanding officials to intervene.
The community here in New York is outraged about yet another pipeline, this time gathering outside of Senator Chuck Schumer's office, calling on him to do something to stop the project that could put millions of New Yorkers at risk. Although Senator Schumer has urged the Federal Agency Regulatory Commission to suspend action on the AIM pipeline project in the past, the people of New York want more.
We're here to pressure Senator Schumer to act on this matter immediately and go to President Obama and Norman Bay, Commissioner of FERC, and speak out against this pipeline.
Just 25 miles north of New York City, a private company is trying to force a high-pressure gas pipeline beside the Indian Point nuclear power plant and under the Hudson River. The Spectra Energy's Algonquin Incremental Market, also known as AIM, is a $1 billion expansion of the existing Algonquin pipeline system.
Leave fossil fuels in the ground.
The project would harm our climate and present the immediate threat of an accident that could possibly contaminate our air, soil, and water.
They've cut down over 300 of our trees. They've dug up our wetland and have left it a mess.
The Spectra AIM pipeline project was designed to transport huge amounts of fracked methane gas through New York State and New England, as well as Canada for export overseas.
Stop the Spectra pipeline!
In some cases, regulators have mandated that pipeline projects stay outside of a mile radius of any nuclear facility. But in this case, the pipeline would run within 100 feet of critical safety structures at the Indian Point nuclear power plant, posing a huge risk.
This morning, newly leaked documents casting a shadow on the Clinton campaign. This 2011 memo from Bill Clinton's longtime aide revealing how he pressured donors to steer business opportunities to the former president after he left the White House, including paid speaking engagements that reportedly earned the Clintons tens of millions of dollars. The aide describing these efforts as Bill Clinton Inc. ABC News has not independently verified the documents, the Clinton campaign not commenting on individual emails.
Developing now at LaGuardia Airport in New York City, Republican vice presidential nominee Mike Pence's plane runs off the runway.
Plane-carrying Republican vice presidential candidate Mike Pence made a hard landing and skidded off runway 22 at New York's LaGuardia Airport. The Boeing 737 had just come in from Fort Dodge, Iowa, where Donald Trump's running mate had attended a rally.
The plane slid off the runway. We could feel the plane sliding off the runway, and then the plane came to a very sharp halt on the runway at LaGuardia.
Air traffic controllers warned incoming planes to circle away from the airport.
Eastern, stop, Eastern. Go around, JetBlue 1640. We have an issue on the airport. We have an emergency in the airport.
Reporters on the plane snapped photos of damage to a section of the runway known as the arrestor bed, made of crushable concrete designed to stop airplanes when they overrun a runway. As rain fell at the airport, Pence, who was not hurt, was seen talking to firefighters and posing for pictures. Hillary Clinton tweeted, "Glad to hear Mike Pence, his staff, Secret Service, and the crew are all safe."
As the U.S. gets ready to vote its next president into office, many Americans are worried that Election Day could get intense. According to a new poll from USA Today and Suffolk University, more than half of likely voters said they were anxious about the possibility of violence on Election Day. 1 in 5 people surveyed even claimed they were very concerned. Because of these fears, officials across the country are already preparing for the worst. Many schools have decided to cancel classes on Election Day or move polling places to other locations after parents voiced their concerns about potential violence in the hallways. And federal and state law enforcement officials say they will be on the lookout for any signs of trouble on November 8th and the surrounding days.
America has been battling to protect and ensure basic human rights for the LGBTQ community. President Obama has been outsourcing the same efforts to other countries as well. The president and his administration has spent tens of millions of dollars in countries such as Latin America, Eastern Europe, and Sub-Saharan Africa to block anti-gay legislation and to punish countries that enact the laws.
Obama and the State Department are mulling over options on how to punish Russia for its actions in Syria. The U.S. already has sanctions placed on Russia's main arms exporter, placed one on a motorcycle club linked to the division in Crimea, and countless other individuals and Russian companies. There are so many sanctions on Russia that even experts at the Wilson Center joked that there is nobody left to sanction but the janitor at the Kremlin. So just what can the Obama administration do to, quote, punish Russia for backing Assad in Syria? Is he deliberately trying to destroy all diplomatic ties before he leaves office?
No, I don't think so. I think there's just a mindset you find in Washington. It's not just limited to Russia. It's across the board that if any country does what we don't want them to do, we have to treat them like an obstreperous child, go take a time out in the corner, and that's what the sanctions are for. They're more of a demonstration of pique more than they are a calculated policy.
Now, Russian President Vladimir Putin has said that Western countries, quote, keep making the same mistake in the Middle East. Putin made the remarks during a speech in the city of Sochi. He criticized some powers in Washington who failed to implement a joint alliance in the fight against terrorists in Syria. Now, Putin stressed that Moscow's calls for aid in the fight against terrorism had been ignored by the West. The Russian president also said that terrorist organizations were being armed and trained for fight so that their supporters reach their political gains or goals. Now, Putin warned against such measures, describing them as a very dangerous game. He added that those who coordinate with terrorists would always lose.
Before 9/11, Americans knew when we were at war. There were commercials about supporting the effort or supporting our troops. Americans even knew we were at war in Vietnam, even though our government refused to call it a war. But in 2016, Americans don't seem to realize that now we're not only involved in one war, we're waging war in 5 countries. How many Americans do you know that know our military is bombing Yemen? Or Libya, the 5th country we're at war with right now? How many Americans do you know that their military just launched 30 strikes on one Libyan city in just 3 days? Iraq, Syria, Somalia, Yemen, and Libya. These are 5 countries where America is actively waging war, and Americans have no idea. Why? By design. Wars used to be a rallying cry for freedom, but now our leaders know our wars are not so valiant. They know that if Americans did realize just how much death and destruction our military is causing, they might get upset. That's why war isn't even talked about anymore. In our media, during our presidential debates, nothing, not one word about all our wars.
Saudi Arabian state news agency SPA reported Thursday that Yemen's Houthi militia launched a ballistic missile toward Mecca. The statement said coalition forces destroyed the missile 40 miles from the holy city without damage and retaliated against the launch site inside Yemen. Mecca is home to the most sacred sites in Islam, including the Grand Mosque. In a statement to their official news agency on Friday, the Houthis confirmed the launch of a Birkin-1 ballistic missile into Saudi Arabia. However, it said it targeted King Abdulaziz International Airport in Jeddah, the kingdom's busiest airport. According to Reuters, the group controls much of the north of Yemen, including the capital Sana'a, along with its allies, forces loyal to former President Ali Abdullah Saleh.
Now, Pakistan has expelled an Indian diplomat for allegedly violating diplomatic norms. Indian diplomat has been identified as Surjit Singh. Pakistan's foreign ministry said that Singh has just 48 hours to leave the country now. Earlier Wednesday, India expelled a Pakistani diplomat for alleged espionage. New Delhi accused Mahmoud Akhtar of leading an espionage circle. Indian authorities said that Akhtar was collecting information about India's security operations along the tense border. Islamabad strongly condemned its diplomat's expulsion and rejected the accusations. Tensions between India and Pakistan have soured and soared since a raid on an Indian army base back in September.
If you have been to the grocery store lately, you've probably noticed the price for avocados has gone up big time.
New at 5:30, 10 News reporter Matt Mendez talked to the owner of a local restaurant who has had to take extreme measures because of the avocado shortage in Mexico.
The avocado market has hit the pits, and it's affecting us and businesses in the green.
From the inside, it does hurt. It does hurt.
Guillermo Fragoso is owner of La Vicinidad Neighborhood Tacos in Hillcrest. A sign at the cash register tells customers there's an avocado shortage, and the restaurant is not serving guac for any appetizers, only main dishes. And to make matters even worse, much of the menu has items that come with avocado.
I mean, they understand, but at the same time, I can see their face when we say, oh, no avocado tea.
Fragoso says the case of avocados that cost him just $25 a box 3 months ago now cost $125.
Now, protesters in the Brazilian city of Sao Paulo have rallied against an increase in transportation fares. Protesters are calling for free transportation. Many gathered in front of the municipal building to burn symbolic ticket gates. Shortly after being elected in early October, the new Sao Paulo mayor announced an increase in the fares. Critics say that the move would reduce the mobility of the poor. A single public transportation ticket in Sao Paulo costs $1.21. Now, $1.21 in Sao Paulo. What does it mean for the average Brazilian? And an increase in that, what would that spell out?
Well, the minimum wage in Brazil per day is equivalent of 7 bus tickets. This is a lot of money for a poor person, and especially in Sao Paulo, when a worker has to travel 4 buses per day. It's a lot of money. It's more than half of a minimum wage.
Venezuela's President Nicolas Maduro has announced a 40% increase in the minimum wage for all workers. It comes as the opposition plans to go on a nationwide general strike on Friday.
Venezuelans believe this was a desperate move to avoid the general strike. This is the first increment in the salary this year, something Maduro's government says is proof of its social commitment. But opposition critics say that this increment have not kept pace with inflation. According to the International Monetary Fund, Venezuela could end 2016 with inflation of 700%. And despite this increment in the minimum wage, Venezuela is still one of the countries in Latin America with one of the lowest salaries in this part of the world, with people earning less than $3 a day.
Here to tell us about Clear, a biometrics company based in New York that speeds up wait times at security checkpoints, is Clear Chairman and CEO Karen Seidman Becker. So tell us in practical terms how this works. If I'm a traveler, I go up to a Clear machine. Is that what I do? And I put my fingerprint somewhere and they take a picture of my iris?
Sure. So think of it, we call it the ATM of identity. An enrollment takes less than 5 minutes. What we've really been focused on with Clear is enhancing Homeland Security on the back end, but all about transforming the consumer experience on the front end. So the enrollment is less than 5 minutes, and then you can use it immediately.
And you enroll online?
You can start online, and then you come to a kiosk, and all you need is a driver's license or a passport, one form of ID. We authenticate it. We tie your biometrics to it, ensuring that you're the person on the identity. And then your fingerprints or your iris image can serve as your driver's license, your passport. Long term, it can serve as your payment.
Now, obviously, there are implications for this that go far beyond just airports. Are you in stadiums yet, arenas, or is that the next phase?
Absolutely. So it's a platform. We are in stadiums. Today we're in Yankees here, and we just launched the Mets. So individuals, fans, travelers are also using it for fast access into sports stadiums. We have 5 different Major League Baseball teams today, and we'll be announcing it more. And we're also doing biometric boarding passes in partnership with Alaska Airlines from a pilot, where not only is it serving as your driver's license, but also your boarding pass. You're literally going through the checkpoint with nothing.
I think this field sounds so interesting. Do you think eventually biometrics could eliminate the password, could eliminate your company, key card, all of those things?
Yes, yes, and yes. I think they're going mainstream, and you may not have your card or your key, but you've always got your fingerprints or your iris image or your face.